Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca, and I am the Executive Director for Asian Pacific Islander American Vote Michigan, commonly known as API Vote Michigan. And on behalf of API Vote Michigan, ACA, ACJ, UA's Pinoys for Good Governance, and Dragon Eagle TV, I would like to welcome everyone on our redistricting webinar. We are representing API Vote Michigan today. I am actually representing API Vote Michigan today, and we are a nonpartisan grassroots organization that's committed to social justice and equity for the Asian American community. And we do that through grassroots mobilization. And our impact in the API community involves increasing voter registration, advocating for public policy, providing census education, assisting folks with citizenship application, and coalition building. And we really work to ensure that all Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders can exercise their right to vote and make sure that their voices are heard. And my organization is excited to be part of the redistricting efforts here in Michigan, as our democracy is deeply dependent on it and ensures that it represents each and every one of us. Today, we will hear from two of the commissioners from the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, and you will also have the opportunity to ask them any questions. We'll also walk you through a presentation on redistricting, and we'll have the opportunity to make sure that we understand the map drawing process and how to submit your public comments. At this time, I would like to introduce API Vote Michigan's President, Willie DeJavis, for his welcome remarks.
Thank you, Rebecca. Again, my name is Willie DeJavis, and I am the president of API Vote Michigan. For the past 4 months, I'm new as president, and I'm also the executive director of U.S. Pinoy for Good Governance. I would like to thank our partner organization, the American Citizen for Justice, the Dragon Eagle TV, our media partner, with my friend Lisa Gray, my base organization, U.S. Pinoy for Good Governance, Michigan, and for voters, not politicians, another group who partnered with us. I can say that redistricting is very important to all the stakeholders in the community, and the result of this activity will be with us for 10 years.
Recording in progress.
So I thank our guests, the two commissioners that will be introduced later, for educating us once more on this redistricting. Again, I would like to thank everyone, and hopefully everybody will learn on this Zoom meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. At this time, I would like to invite Roland Wong, who is the president of ACJ, for his remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rebecca and Willie and API Vote Michigan and the other co-sponsors of this get-together. Thank you for recognizing the Asian Pacific American population as a community of interest. It's not something that is very apparent. A lot of the discussions that I've heard so far have been about, Novi and Northville, are they a community of interest? Do they have, common interests, or Farmington and Farmington Hills? The community of interest that we're talking about now is not so apparent, but it is the Asian Pacific American community that is not bound by common religion or food or anything else like that. It's a census construct, but we are bound by a common interest in civil rights and civil liberties and the invisibility of the various communities in the APA community, the bamboo ceiling, and other shared experiences as recent immigrants to this area. And so I think it's very important that the Asian American population be recognized as a community of interest and where they are. That is from the arc from Canton all the way to Troy and Sterling Heights. And so that is, I think, something that needs to be remembered and recalled during this whole redistricting process. So thank you for allowing ACJ to be a part of this process, and much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. We now have Sharon Dahl, Vice President of ACA. Sharon?
Thank you, Willie and Rebecca, and thank you for having us today. Well, just a little bit introduction, just to introduce ACA. Association of Chinese Americans, also known as ACA, has been serving and advocating for the Chinese and APIA communities in the Metro Detroit area for almost 50 years. ACA is the Detroit chapter of OCA, Asian Pacific American Advocates, which is headquartered in Washington, D.C., with 50 chapters nationwide. Our mission is to advance the social, educational, political, and economic well-being of the Chinese and APIA populations in the United States. Well, we have multiple service locations across Oakland, Wayne, Macomb counties, including a permanent site, Chinese Community Center in Madison Heights. We offer a wide range of services, including social, educational, health, and cultural enrichment programs. ACA also has been partnering with many organizations to promote civic engagement such as Census, voter education, registration, and more. Well, ACA had very successful partnership last year, raising awareness during the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission application period. And this year, we feel even more honored to join the Michigan's first ever Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission group in this historic process to solicit input from the public about our communities. Well, thank you once again for inviting us, I guess, including us to join this effort. I guess, well, we know all together we'll make it work and make it successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. At this time, I would like to introduce Lisa Gray from Dragon Eagle TV and APIA News Network.
Thank you, Rebecca. Dragon Eagle TV, APIA News Network is honored to be partnered with the APIA Vote Michigan, ACA, ACJ, USP4GG, and Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission co-hosting tonight's event. Let me give a brief introduction of Dragon Eagle TV, APIA News Network. It's an influential media source under GR Media Group, headquartered in Detroit. The mission is to build social, culture, business, educational, and political bridges between the AAPI community and community at large. It's our mission to help keep our community informed on subjects that affect their daily lives. One such issue is congressional redistricting. Michigan has lost one congressional representative in each of the last two censuses. Based on the 2020 census, Michigan will be losing one more congressional seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. So in the last 20 years, Michigan has lost 3 representatives in Congress. So it's vital to make sure that how we are represented will keep our needs front and center. This year marks the first time that an independent citizen-led commission instead of the legislature will redraw districts. We need to make our voice heard so that the redistricting of Michigan does not leave our communities underrepresented. I learned about this process, how the commission will do, and I will post their website and to promote, to our community. And also I want to say that Dragon Eagle TV, it's a live stream this event. If it's anybody who does not have chance to join us, they can always watch afterwards. Thank you again for everybody, for all the partners for hosting this great event. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you to all our partners. I really wanted to give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves, especially to our commissioners. I know it almost sounds like a public hearing, but it's not a public hearing. We really just wanted to introduce ourselves and learn from you, the commissioners, and also educate our community members. At this time, I would like to introduce the Communications and Outreach Director for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to give us an overview of what's happening with redistricting. I know we've had several public hearings throughout the state. Tomorrow we are having one in Novi, and I will share the information of that public hearing later in the program. But that is so important that we join that public hearing tomorrow, especially because we have a high dense API population in Farmington Hills and Novi, and we want to make sure that we're represented at that public hearing. Again, I'll go back to introducing Edward Woods, who is the Communications Director. As the Communications and Outreach Director for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, Edward Woods III leads the awareness and engagement efforts as it relates to redistricting for the commission. Being a lifelong Michigander, Edward has extensive experience working for the government and nonprofits in senior leadership, communications, and professional development positions. As a third-time elected nonpartisan official and advocate, Edward enjoys this unique opportunity to explain Michigan's new redistricting process. So at this time, I would like to call Edward, a great friend of mine, to really walk us through the redistricting process and really let us know, we want to be involved in the public hearing process, but what more can we do? How can we get our community members engaged? How can we be engaged in this new redistricting process? So Edward.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. We're just coming on the heels of Asian American Awareness Month, and I believe we should be celebrating that every day throughout the year, not limited through the month of May. But when I consider the theme, advancing leaders through purpose-driven service, I can find no one better who embodies that theme than Rebecca Islam. So I just want to commend you for the fine, outstanding work that you do, how you juggle things as a wife, as a mother, as a leader. You are truly phenomenal, and we are blessed to have you here in Michigan. And so I just wanted to salute you as an all-around great and spectacular individual who is an outstanding voice, authentic and clear voice for Asian Pacific Islander Americans, but also for Americans as a whole. So thank you for everything that you have done and continue to do to raise awareness on all of the important issues facing Michiganders. I greatly appreciate you.
That wasn't part of your script, Edward, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't a part of my script, so every now and then you got to come from the heart. So thank you for accepting my heart. I'm very pleased to have two commissioners that will assist in the process. We have none other than Rebecca Zatella, a lawyer in her own right, a mother of four, a wife, and the vice chairperson of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, who hails from Wayne County, right there in your backyard, is Rebecca Zatella. Great to have her. And then from Lansing, someone who's always trying to build consensus and partnerships and collaborations and has his own story to tell, is none other than the legendary person himself. Don't let the beard scare you, but it's MC Rothborn. He is not a grizzly bear. He's a compassionate individual, and you will enjoy hearing his story and why being here tonight is so important to him. Just to give you a quick overview, in 2018, Michiganders made an intentional and deliberate decision for voters, not legislators or politicians, to take control of the Michigan redistricting process. The commission has the exclusive authority to draw maps for Michigan's congressional, which is 13 districts, Michigan Senate, which is 38 districts, and Michigan House, which is 110 districts. Right now, we're on a listening tour. We've completed 8 out of 16 public hearings. And our next public hearing, as Rebecca said earlier, will take place tomorrow at the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi, Michigan at 6:00 p.m. So we're going to invite as many people as possible to come out and participate. And the commission wanted to have more time and wanted to make sure no matter how many people showed up, they would have 2 minutes to speak. And our public hearings starting Thursday, June 10th, will start at 5:00 p.m. They'll start at 5:00 p.m. And the first place will be Pontiac. So we'll be in Oakland County for the entire week. Novi on Tuesday, and then Pontiac, Michigan at Center Point Marriott at 5:00. And so just want to make sure you know the difference in times because that just was changed last week, Thursday. Our commissioners are here, so I'm going to let them tell more of the story, Rebecca, because that's who people want to hear from, are the ones that can actually make a decision. They just pay me to talk. So let's turn it to our great commissioners. And as always, we're respectful of our ladies. And so we'll let Rebecca go first. Rebecca, if you could just share a little bit about what you like about the commission so far, and what do you see as the challenges ahead?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, thank you for having me here tonight. I'm really excited to be here. I would say what I like about the commission right now is that we seem to be working well together as a cohesive unit. It's unexpected to come into a group of 13 people and expect everybody to get along well, but so far I think we're getting along well and we all have a common purpose and a common goal, and I think we're working together well. I think our biggest challenge is just soliciting feedback from the public because we are just 13 people. We aren't experts in every area of the state. None of us really have a statistical background to speak of. We're not expert map drawers. So receiving that feedback from people who live in communities about their communities is information that we really need to guide our decision making. And that's going to be the biggest challenge is raising awareness about what we're doing, soliciting that feedback, and then deciding what to do with that feedback.
Thank you. Commissioner MC Rothhorn, tell us why you're excited about being here tonight and your perspectives as it relates to the commission.
Thank you, Edward. Thanks, Rebecca, too. So why am I excited to be here? Maybe I'll just acknowledge first that Rebecca has filled in. Zatella, I should say, Commissioner Rebecca has filled in. So she is the second person. There were 2 people that left the commission voluntarily. So Rebecca has stuck. And so I think when she said that we're working well together, I just wanted to acknowledge that it takes we've had 2 people who felt it didn't work well. So it was nice to have Rebecca stick around. Rebecca Zatella again. It's nice to have Rebecca Islam also stick around. And so my own story is my wife, Tamiko Rothhorn, and I share 2 children. We have 2 children together. And we have a Japanese American family. And we learned German together. I met my spouse, Tamiko, at the university, and we learned German together. And I guess that's significant because I'm the first generation. I was born here in the United States because both my mother and my father came from Germany after World War II and settled in the Grand Rapids area. Tamiko and her family have been in the United States for 3 or 4 generations. I say 3 or 4 because the Japanese often use they count differently than I'll say the first generation is the people who immigrate here in the Japanese American culture. And so I'm first generation and she is now 3rd or 4th. Tamiko is 3rd or 4th generation. But my point is, as we have traveled, she is often questioned when she is, said, I'm US American, right? But I'm not questioned. And so I guess what I'm acknowledging is I understand that there is it's important to be represented. It sometimes doesn't feel like you can be represented as American. And so I suppose I bring that to you tonight because it is exciting for me not to represent. I want to be very clear. It's not about representing, but it is a sort of an understanding. And I do feel like, as Rebecca Zatella said earlier, that we will be able to talk about these things. We are citizens and we are people we're not politicians. And we will be able, I believe, to talk about things that up to this point have not been able to been discussed in the political sphere. But we will be able to talk about race. We will be able to talk about history and culture and communities of interest. and how to draw fair and precise, I shouldn't say precise, fair and statistically relevant maps that are, they're representative and that help you, I suppose, all of us feel like we have a process that's transparent and ultimately fair as fair product.
Thank you. Rebecca, can you share a little bit about our public hearing process and the listening tour? And just, some of the things that the commission has heard and has, a lot to ponder, after we complete the tour. So far, how has it really gone? And what have been your aha moments?
Yeah, so our public hearing process is before we are allowed to begin on the process of drawing those maps. So we're going to be drawing the 13 US Congressional, the 38 Michigan Senate, and then the 110 US Michigan House, seats. But before we can do that, we're required to have a minimum of 10 public hearings. We actually decided to have 16 instead so that we can reach out to more people. And so as part of having that process, we're going around throughout the state of Michigan. We've been in Marquette, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo. We've been in Dearborn. We've been in Lansing, Midland, and we're going to continue to travel. People can come to those hearings and provide comments to us about what they do or do not like about redistricting, where they want the lines to be drawn, where they think in their community there could be improvements where the lines are currently drawn. They're identifying their communities of interest for us so that we have that information and providing us with proposed maps that we can use and assist us in drawing our maps. In terms of how the process has gone so far, I think it's been fantastic. I think we're getting wonderful feedback from a variety of different people. Some of the things that I think are most interesting that I've been hearing about are particular land characteristics, geographic characteristics. Like I know when we were in the Battle Creek, Kalamazoo area, a lot of people were talking about the Waterloo Recreation Area and the watershed there and how that impacts a variety of things. And that's something we should take into consideration. We've heard a lot from people about their school districts and how relevant the school districts are to how they feel as a community and maybe to consider that. We've heard quite a bit about rural versus urban. And that's been kind of interesting because on one hand, we have rural people saying we're rural for a reason and we want to stay rural. And then we have people who are urban saying we're urban for a reason and we want to stay urban. And then we have people who are like, mix us all together. So we're definitely hearing a variety of opinions on where lines should be drawn. And it's just been interesting at this point to listen and hear and get everybody's perspectives.
Thank you. Commissioner Rossman, you spoke a little bit about communities of interest, but can you talk about the 7 criteria that the commission has to consider and provide even more of a broader definition of the community of interest for the audience?
I will. You'll forgive me if I actually read this so that I get it accurate, because I do want to be, accurate. So we do have the first priority there. So as Edward said, there are 7, and these are ranked. So the first and most important priority is to districts shall be of equal population as mandated by the United States Constitution and shall comply with the Voting Rights Act and other federal laws. So what that means is we're using the federal Constitution and that law. And the second criteria for our state of Michigan is we're using another federal law, which is that districts shall be geographically contiguous. So we have districts shall be of equal population and comply with the Voting Rights Act and other federal laws. And the second criteria is districts shall be geographically contiguous. Those are both federal laws. The first state, let's say, the first one that's not federal is districts shall reflect the state's diverse population and communities of interest. So the top priority for the state of Michigan right now, again, after the 2 federal, and our third criteria is communities of interest. And I'm going to go into that more and help you understand what exactly that means. And I think that's why we're here tonight. And I'm going to keep going. So the 4th criteria, our districts shall not provide a disproportionate advantage to any political party. So criteria number 4 and 5 are both relate to political, how we as a non-political body will relate to the political atmosphere that we are operating in. So number 4, again, districts shall not provide a disproportionate advantage to any political party, and a disproportionate advantage to any political party shall be determined using accepted measures of partisan fairness. Oops. Thank you, Edward. So this is excellent. So you can see here, No favor. Number 5, no favor or disfavor to an incumbent elected official or a candidate shall be granted. And I think this is important because I do believe it was one of the people introducing earlier talked about how we've lost a seat. I believe it was Sharon Dow who said that we lost a seat each in the, you know, that was Dragon Eagle, I Apostle Lisa, who recognized that we have lost a seat, a congressional seat each year for the last 2 census periods. And the idea is that as we draw 13 congressional seats, meaning we had 14, now we're going to draw 13, we shall not favor nor disfavor any incumbent, elected official, or a candidate. Again, number 6, I shouldn't say again, yeah, but back to reflecting consideration of county, city, and township boundaries. We will actually, as a 6th priority, look at the municipalities and their boundaries, and then we will ultimately, number 7, and finally, we'll have them reasonably compact. And again, I want to come back to communities of interest because that's I didn't believe why we're here tonight, and it's important because we do have we have a definition in the Constitution that says communities of interest may include, but shall not be limited to, populations that share cultural or historical characteristics or economic interests. Communities of interest do not include relationships with political parties, incumbents, or political candidates. So I do believe that we're rested in the API, Asian Pacific Islander American community. We have a valid reason, and as has been said by our sponsors tonight, we're talking about how we identify, I should say, how the Asian Pacific Islander American community identifies, and as a community of interest, and we as commissioners, I suppose, are interested in understanding that during the public comment, right? And as we hear those public comments, we will take that into consideration. That's one of the 7 criteria in a very high ranked criteria as we draw the lines, which we haven't done yet. But I think that's the most precise I can be. Long-winded, forgive me.
Rebecca, what are ways people can engage, with public comments, find information with regards to the commission? What are best ways people can do to engage?
Yeah, we have multiple ways that people can reach us. One is to attend a public hearing. You can sign up to provide comments in person, or you can also sign up to provide comments virtually. So maybe you can't make it to Novi tomorrow, or maybe you can't make it to Pontiac. All you have to do is log in on our website, michigan.gov/MICRC, and there's a link there that allows you to register in line and register to provide virtual public comments. Sorry, the screen changing threw me a bit there. The other way is you can actually send us email messages at redistricting@michigan.gov. Again, you can reach us that way. You can like us on Facebook. You can submit public comments via our public comment tool. So if you go to www.michigan.gov/MICRC, we actually have a public comment tool that I believe there's going to be a little bit of a tutorial on this evening to show you how to use it. So that would be another way. If you have a proposed map, you can submit it via the public comment tool. You can submit a proposed map of a community of interest, or if maybe you don't want to draw a map, maybe you're not comfortable with that, or you don't have a strong idea of where the line should be, you can just provide written testimony giving us that same information in words versus a map form. You can also mail us at the address that's provided here, the PO box. You can call 833-U-DRAW, which is 833-968-3729 for information as well. And then you can attend in addition to the public hearings that we're having, we also have weekly, soon to be bi-weekly or twice a week meetings of the commission itself at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you can call in and provide public comment through that mechanism as well.
Well, thank you. We have a brief presentation. I think we're still on the time. Rebecca Islam cracks a big whip, and we don't want her to crack it on me today. And so we want to open it up for Q&A at this time and answer any questions if we can be helpful. So Rebecca Islam will open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, Edward, and thank you to both of our commissioners. As Edward said, at this time, we will take questions from our community partners and community members that are here today. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Sure,
Sharon?
go ahead, Sharon.
Can we run the public hearing the list again? Some I don't see anyone that close to my district. I'm living in Rochester Hills, so I wonder how that public hearing is defined. Can we run that list again?
I want to make sure I'm answering your question. The public hearing, the 16 public hearings are where commissioners receive comment.
Oh, okay.
With regards to the public hearing. And is that the list you're referring to?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Pontiac, I think, might be the closest to you.
Maybe Warren too.
Can we add one to Rochester Hills?
You said Rochester Hills?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Actually, we're coming to Rochester Hills for a public meeting on September 30th at Oakland University.
Oh, okay.
But that won't be, I would not suggest you wait that late. I would suggest you would come to the public hearing if you're able to make it on Thursday. If not, you can always submit a map or comment online through the comment portal. And that's available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is I always feel anxious. The Rochester Hills, I believe Rochester Hills is being divided to 2 districts. I'm not sure why this happened. That doesn't fit the number. I think number 6 in your criteria, right? Reflecting consideration of county, city, and township boundaries. I'm not sure why Rochester Hills being divided into 2 districts. That's something that I think probably should be, personally, I think should be improved this time.
I can't stress enough making sure you put that in the public comments. Please, please, please put it in the public comments, either through the portal or you can, if you can't make it in person, you do know there's a remote option. You can come through Zoom or you can register by telephone. If you register by telephone, you have to remotely, you have to do that by noon, the day of the meeting. Or if you want to come in person, you would have to do it tomorrow. It would end at 8 o'clock on Tuesday. And then Thursday thereafter, the sign-up period ends at 7 o'clock if you do it in person. MC?
I wanted to offer too that I believe that doing it remotely allows you to see other public comments that have been done remotely. And as we look at building communities of interest, you would be able to see and comment on other people's posts. And therefore, if you don't see someone else who has said, hey, keep Rochester Hills whole, for example, you put that there and that allows someone else to say, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that thinks that's important. So you're sort of, there's a way to build a community online simply by commenting or making a comment. And again, there's 3 different types of comments. There's a general text comment. There's a map, so you can submit a specific map, and there's a community of interest. 3 different types of comments. And so I suppose looking through those to see if you see Rochester Hills already represented may be an important thing for you to know, and then therefore also comment or, yeah.
Because it was done past, right? 2 years ago, and that it was done by politicians, basically. This time we want to put the control back to us. I don't know how many cities facing the same issue as Rochester Hills. They're being divided. I'm not sure. I feel funny to see the city being divided. I don't know how many cities being divided in the same situation. Maybe we should do more promotion to that kind of area to get residents' attention. Because it was done by politicians in the past, but this time we want to take it back, right? We have the rights to speak out.
It's true, and we forgive us if we have, right, that's the 6th criteria to keep the municipal boundaries intact. The first criteria is to keep the population at the same number, and so it may be that I don't think that 10 years ago when the lines were drawn that they cared about communities of interest. So we will take that into consideration, absolutely. And it may have been done because of population to grab the numbers to make them even. So we have the same, right, those criteria, those 7 criteria, we will still be held to that. And yeah, the population as equal population, that's the first criteria for us.
Mm-hmm.
Can I build on Sharon's point in terms of Rochester? Rochester Hills is obviously not the only example. The other example that is pointed out often is Farmington and Farmington Hills being in different congressional districts. I do have a different question, and that is, given that the Asian American population is a community of interest, I think that's a given. What are the milestones or markers to define that? Are you going to be looking at particular census tracts, like getting into the minutia of where it is in Novi or where it is in Canton and that sort of thing? Or are you going to be looking at markers, that is where the Gujwaras are or where the community centers are? Because that's a lot easier in terms of identifying that the Filipino American Center is in Southfield. The Korean American Community Center is in Southfield. A lot of the Gujwaras are in Troy and in Canton. And the Korean Center is in Southfield. The Chinese Community Center is in Madison Heights, and a big part of the population is in Troy and Clawson. So are you going to be able to look at the landmarks, or are you going to be actually looking at census tracts, within each of these little, municipalities? So that's the question in terms of how do you define the Asian American population? Or is that an unknown? You're just taking
I would say at this point, we're looking at the Asian community to identify itself and to provide us with that map and information that, says, here's the community of interest, and submit it to us. And then we have it, because otherwise we might never see that and we might not have awareness of it. So that's really where we're looking for these public comments to come in to say, okay, look at Madison Heights for this particular community. And you could even submit a map with the community of interest showing us on a map where it's located at, or where
all the community centers are.
Where you think the communities are. That's the kind of information we're looking for, and that would be helpful for us to draw these maps.
Thank you.
Isn't it something we can get it from, even if we do Google right now, we can see the top 10, the cities in Michigan has the largest Asian population. And I do see Rochester Hills is number 9. So it's very easy the information is very easy to retrieve.
I would offer that that's true, and that doesn't help us back up why we've drawn a line. I want to reiterate what Rebecca Satella has said, right? In order for us to substantiate why we have drawn a line where it is, it would be most useful for us as the commission to say, we heard from a united group of Asian Pacific Islander Americans who told us to draw the lines here. Mm-hmm. That's different than if MC Rothhorn says, draw the line here, or Rebecca Satella says, draw the line here, right? The point is, we need your voice to help us substantiate why we've drawn the lines and what we think. I think it's fair to say that this is a legal strategy. Mm-hmm. This will help us defend our maps. Mm-hmm. If we don't hear from you, we'll figure it out. And if you want this to happen, this is the time to come together and give us the map and help us understand exactly, right, the lines, where they go. And even if they look gerrymandered, even if they look like they're going around and around, we can prove, or we can substantiate why we've drawn it that way, because we're including communities of interest who need to stay together.
Agreed.
If I may just ask a question. So oftentimes Asian Americans don't participate in civic engagement or in our democracy because of language barriers. Has there been any accommodations, especially tomorrow for Novi, because we do have a dense API population in that district, District 14. Has there been any accommodations made for translators or interpreters for API community members to participate?
The answer is yes. We have translation services available at each and every one of our meetings from the inception. Just this past week, I'm sure Commissioner Zatella can tell you about our partnership with 211 that we're also happy to share.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Rebecca Zatella.
Yeah, so so we formed a partnership with 211 this past week, which will allow people to call and get assistance in providing comments back to us, and that includes translation services as part of that.
So whether you're remote, when we say remote, just so we're clear, we're talking about virtual in terms of Zoom, like we're on right now, and we're talking about telephone. So when we say remote participation, it's virtual through Zoom or through telephone. We realize there's a digital divide, not just in our rural areas, but also in our urban areas, because we've seen buses used as hotspots, in communities across the state because of a lack of access to internet. We wanted to make sure that that wasn't a problem. And so that's why you see the 211 initiative. We also wanted to make sure that translation services are not a problem as well, and are not a barrier. I mean, I say a problem, a barrier. And if you look at all of our meeting notices, you can contact Sarah Reinhardt and get translation services either in person or remotely, so you can ask a question and hear the answer in your own native tongue.
I get a quick question. Lisa here, regarding district. District 11, right now it's Hilly Stevens, and that district is most concentrated Asian population, APIA community. So I was wondering how, when you draw a map, how this works. Are we gonna lose that that area, that district?
Well, once again, I think Rebecca said earlier that before we draw any maps, we have to have the public hearings. And so I want to make sure we don't get in trouble with our own constitution in terms of what's going to happen in these districts and what, future maps may look like, because the commission is still on a listening tour and they've only been to 8 spots. So it'd be kind of premature to kind of identify what the maps will look like or not look like. But as Commissioner MC Rothhorn said earlier, we need public comments. As Commissioner Zatella said earlier, we want to hear from you. I mean, I can't stress it enough. We need everybody to flood us with public comments. I mean, whether it's in person or whether it's through the public comment portal, flood us, flood us, flood us, so that we can actually do our work. And I'll go ahead, MC.
And I wanted to offer too that it's not just the congressional district that we're drawing, but the state Senate and the state House. So there's 3 maps we're drawing. And what I mean is, right, the congressional district is the largest population-wise, and we'd like to understand how we can help state representation matter for the Asian Pacific Islander American community.
So will this redrawing get rid of the crazy shapes that we're seeing in 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, and make them more representative of the populations?
Once again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but that way the commissioners know at least I do my job. We're not able to talk about the maps until we've had our public hearings. We've only done 8. We have 16 more to go. But that's the basis of the criteria that Commissioner Rothhorn addressed earlier in terms of the 7 criteria in ranked order. And that's what it should, that's the objective. But once again, we need public comments. We need public comments. We need public comments and help us reach our goal. We're trying to get 10,000 distinct public comments. And we could really use your help in making sure we get those public comments, whether it's like Commissioner Rothhorn said, a congressional, state House, state Senate, but we also have a section where you can put in your community of interest. So that public comment portal has 4 sections: Michigan Congressional, Michigan House, Michigan Senate, and a community of interest. It's good to see Sandy here. Sandy's a part of our communication and outreach team, and she's also knows whether or not we're following the law. And so she can speak as well on our behalf, as she also represents one of the partners here tonight in Voters Not Politicians. Hi. Hi, Sandy.
Got a question with respect to public comments, either live or that are written. I presume that they are accepted in other languages other than English, right? And they'll be translated in process?
If you mail it in, it will be translated and put into the record. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So how many languages we are supporting right now?
200 through 211 and 160 through our more than 160 languages through the Secretary of State.
Thank you.
We're trying to get them all. We don't want language to be a barrier. And if it's something that we don't have, we will pay for it and get it so that every voice is heard.
So right now, the important thing is to get the community members to make comments, to say something, to have their voice out there. All right. So we need to get that message out. So people do not need to attend personally. They can just go online. I checked the website. They can do that.
Yes.
So what we need to do, I think I need to do some little bit of research and go online, see what is the process, how the people can get on and to put their comments there. That's important. The one thing about an APIA community, as Rebecca stated before, they're not that, how to say, come to the civic engagement. Whereas it's not something they would jump into it. You really have to push them to do that. I think this is important.
And we've recently heard from our Arab American friends in Dearborn when we did the public hearing. We also heard that this Asian American, so it's a Japanese American museum in Los Angeles that has supported the Arab Americans here in Detroit as they created their work. And so what I want to offer is that I do know that there are exceptions, and I just recognize that that I hear you, right? We want to encourage, and there's wonderful people who understand how to encourage all of us to get out there. And we've got a great example in all of you tonight, all the people who are co-hosting and bringing this forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You got still people out there, they very much engaged. But I'm just seeing, because of the culture thing, it's not something bad or good. I mean, if we stress enough the importance, I think people will jump into it.
I feel this like another census. We're going through the same process.
Yeah.
So I guess
got a question.
So what? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question with respect to drawing maps and trying to capture all the community centers and the population centers that the Asian American population comprise. Is the map process self-correcting because we don't know the census data, the census tracts, that sort of thing? Will it correct itself, or we just sort of forecast what we want and then the commission will correct it based upon the census tract variances from the real population? How does that work? Because
I'm going to stress again that you come back into the public comment portal and draw your community of interest. We all know the census data is late, and that's not a restraint. That's not, we understand that, but the roads, the boundaries of your community. And that's why the commission is out all across the state asking you to draw that community of interest. And I think you've given some examples in terms of Canton and other cities that you have listed, but where in those areas? And draw those in the community, in the public comment portal. Select communities of interest. Don't select the congressional, don't select the Senate, don't select the House, select communities of interest and draw the boundaries so we know where the population that you're referring to of interest lives so that it doesn't get split up. There's no guarantee either way, but do it. But don't just do it, you do it, Roland. Get everybody in that community of interest to do the same thing so that there's power in numbers. I think Sharon said it earlier. Well, this sounds like the census. Well, guess what? Every 10 years, we do have redistricting. You know, we understand that the census, depending on who you talk to, is $15,000 to $18,000 a year per person. So over the course of 10 years, that's $150,000 to about $180,000 coming into your community. Well, redistricting, you now have the opportunity to influence the maps to decide who represents you and who's going to look out for your best interests. And this is historic, it's new, it's different, and it probably doesn't even seem real. But the actuality is, I've seen Rebecca in person and she's real. I've seen MC in person and he's real. And they're so serious, along with 11 of their colleagues, about drawing maps, but they got to hear from you with regards to the communities of interest, because guess what? There's other people out there that also have communities of interest. And if your voice isn't heard and magnified by recruiting other people, you know, we don't want to lose that voice. So I can't stress enough the importance of going to that public comment portal, clicking on communities of interest, drawing your map, or submitting public comments so that your voice can be heard.
That's helpful. Thank you.
And I just want to acknowledge too that you will see it's not auto-correcting. We will have a second round of public hearings, meaning we are listening first in the first round. The second round of public hearings includes the maps themselves. So you will help us correct. You will help us, you will see the maps, the lines that we have drawn, and you will give us the feedback that says, nope, you didn't listen, or you got it wrong, or whatever it is, right? And we'll appreciate your understanding, because there's probably a lot of people who will tell us that we got it wrong. But I want to acknowledge it's not auto-correcting. There is technology that we will be using to help run the statistics and so forth. But honestly, we're looking at the human element. We're looking at communities of interest. We're looking at you to tell us, help us make these maps fair. We have a transparent process. We want you all to participate because that's what makes it transparent.
Thank you.
How much effort we have been working with city for this process? It looks like, I think we aren't here, we're talking about Asian community, but I think we should have another effort working at the individuals, city one by one, on the individual city level. For example, Rochester, just make example. I feel it's not fair to divide the Rochester, but maybe not my neighbor. So that we should take the input from all the cities, residents from the city, right? So I think there should be another effort to work with city at city level.
I'll just acknowledge that this is the first time we're doing this. Mm-hmm. Don't forget that there'll be another time. This will happen again in 10 years. So if we are not able to accommodate all the needs for Rochester Hills, for example, this year, please take the long view. This will happen again 10 years from now. The census will happen, and then redistricting will happen in Michigan. And you already mentioned how Sharon Dow, how you've helped create the awareness for people to sign up to become a commissioner, right? Rebecca and I applied for this job, right? We volunteered to do this. And so we want 10 years from now, more people to volunteer to do this, right? There were 9,000 applicants that applied. I guess what I'm suggesting is this is not the last time. So, right. And if it's not 10 years from now, 20 years from now, right? Change is slow, and we'll eventually get it right. This is just the first time we're doing it. And we know that we're asking a lot of faith, a lot of trust. We're asking you to trust us and to right, that we will make a decision that is fair. We will definitely make a decision that is transparent. Everything will be recorded, but I don't know that we'll be able to do everything for everyone, right? Because there are going to be competing interests. Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? And then folks can also put in the chat room as well. And I think Lisa's also monitoring the YouTube page. So feel free to put your questions in the chat room. Okay, if there are no more questions at this time, oh, Bev, were you gonna say something? I felt like, okay. If there are no more questions at this time, we've heard so much about why it's so important that to give public comments. You know, we want to give public comments. We're encouraging everyone to give public comments. So tonight we have with us friends from Voters Not Politicians who are actually going to walk us through how to give those public comments. You only have 2 minutes, and I believe the commissioners are very strict on the time. They will cut you off at 2 minutes. So you want to make sure that you make the most out of those 2 minutes, whether you're speaking tomorrow or any of the upcoming 16 hearings, or if you're going to give any public comments through the portal. So at this time, I'm going to ask our presenters from Voters Not Politicians to really talk about how to make those effective 2-minute presentation to the new redistricting commissioners at the upcoming public comments hearings and why it's so important for us to do it. And then they'll also demonstrate to us a drawing of a map of our community using District R, which is the system that the commissioners are using to take feedback from the community. And then we'll also go over ways to map our community. And then we will also answer any questions that you guys might have on public comments on how to give a most effective public comment. And our presenters today are Linda Steller and Bev Ulrich. And Bev is a retired professor at the University of Michigan, and Linda is a statistician and a after-school teacher. And then we also have here with us Sandy, who is a retired attorney. And at this time, I will hand it over to Linda to kind of get us started on how to give public comments.
Actually, it's Bev's going to start, I think, right, Bev? So.
That's the plan.
Go ahead, sure.
Okay, let me share my screen so we can get started here. No, sure. Here we go again.
And it's great that we still have our commissioners with us. So if we ask questions and if there's a different way you want us to spend our 2 minutes, if you want to hear something different from us, please let us know.
Okay. Can you all see my slides?
No. Did you share?
Not yet.
No? Okay. And you still cannot?
No, why don't you stop screen sharing and then start over again? Sometimes getting Google Slides to work for us is not always the easiest thing.
I am sorry, folks. I had it all set to go before we ever got started. All right.
Okay.
Okay, sorry for the delay. As Rebecca and Linda mentioned, I'm going to start out by taking a few minutes to talk about some tips on effective presentations, including a 2-minute sample of public hearing testimony and a video prepared by Engage Michigan on using the Commission's portal. Note that these tips also provide a good foundation for written comments as well as public comments. Also note, as people mentioned earlier, that during the public hearing comment section, each person has only 2 minutes to speak, and that's about 300 words. And so being well organized and efficient is particularly helpful. So we use this heuristic to help you remember what we think of as 5 keys to effective public comment, addressing the who you are, where you are, what your concerns are, why those concerns are important to you, and how the commission can be helpful. Note that in the palm of the hand, you see the phrase, the ask, with arrows pointing to the beginning when you tell them who you are, and to the end when you tell them how you want the commission to help you. We think identifying what it is you would like the commission to do for you is best if you state it early and tie it up with a neat bow by restating it again at the end. So let's go through each one of those briefly. The first one is if you're the speaker and you walk up to the microphone, you introduce yourself, tell them who you are, where you specifically live, and the name of your community, about how many people are part of your community, and then state your ask. Tell them what you'd like the commission to pay attention to you as they redraw the new district lines. Second, where is your community located? Offer some geographic context. Provide landmarks, municipalities, neighborhoods, etc. If you know your current district numbers for the state, House, and Senate, and Congress, share that information. The commission is familiar with those numbers, and that can help put things in context for them. Third, identify the issues that are of concern to your community. Are you concerned about transportation, the availability of bus lines to get people to work and so on? Is there an issue of pollution that is a particular concern to you? Whatever those issues are, short or long list, share those with the commission. But on top of what the issues are, express why these issues are important to you. Provide examples from how those issues have affected people in your community. If you can share a personal story, or you can provide some data, something about pollution, for example, that industries in your area are over and above the EPA standards, but you're not getting the help from your representatives that you need. Express why these issues are important. How has that handicapped people in your community? And then last, come back to restating your ask, telling the commission how they can help your community. That could simply be draw districts that keep our community of interest intact. What I'm going to show you now is a video of someone using his 2 minutes to go through those 5 key components and share with the commission his community of interest and its needs, all in 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Charlie Beal, and I am a resident of Grand Rapids, Michigan. My community of interest is called the Southern Grand Rapids Metropolitan Area. I'm here today to ask this commission to draw districts that keep our community intact. We are comprised of the southern half of Grand Rapids and the entire cities of Wyoming and Kentwood. There are roughly 200,000 residents. The City of Wyoming's vision statement perfectly summarizes the character of our community. A diverse, strong, and authentic community where all individuals have the opportunity to thrive. If you find yourself in town, I hope you'll visit the Beltline Bar and try one of their famous wet burritos. Historically, our community has been a mix of working-class suburbs, but we are quickly urbanizing and growing. In fact, we are the fastest growing area in Kent County. The rapid growth of our community requires representation that understands the issues and challenges that we face. Our top issues include affordable housing, environmental cleanup, and improving reliable mass transit. The cost of housing is going up quickly. In fact, my rent has increased 5% in this past year alone. As for the health and safety of our community and environment, we have half of Kent County's federal Superfund cleanup sites, even though we only have 1/4 of the population. For a community of 200,000, it is frustrating that we are split apart by the 2011 district maps. Currently, we're in 2 congressional districts, 5 state house districts, and 3 state senate districts. We deserve to be in 1 congressional district, 2 state house districts, and 1 state senate district. This commission can help the Southern Grand Rapids metropolitan area community of interest by drawing district lines that keep our community whole. Thank you for your time.
So I hope that gave you a sense of putting those 5 key elements together and still keeping it in just 2 minutes. There are also a few strategic tips for preparing your public comment that we'd like to share. And one is to bring friends. I think the commissioners and Edward mentioned that the more voices that speak up to represent your community, the stronger your voice. So bring community members with you. If you do that to the public hearings, you might want to sign up in sequence to speak so that you can coordinate the comments that you're going to make and reinforce what each other is sharing. You can get creative and consider bringing a visual aid. So I think, again, we've heard the commissioners talk about showing where your community is. You can take a poster board and have a map drawn on that, showing exactly where your community is while you speak and address that with the commission. Add local character, as you heard Charlie do. In addition to all of the issues that are concerning to you, there are some positives in your community that you also might want to share with the commission. Remember to be patient while waiting for the chance to give your comments. There can be 70-some people who are going to give public comment. If it's a concern for you to wait for a few hours to have your opportunity to speak, remember that you can also join that public hearing virtually or by phone. So there are options available to suit your needs. As in any public speaking exercise, there are some tips that help make your presentation as effective as possible. And one is to speak directly into the microphone with a strong and clear voice. As I've seen the commission work in these public hearings, they're in front of the room and you as a presenter walk up to the microphone, but speak strong and clearly, but also at a conversational pace. Allow the commission to stay up with you and follow along with the things that you want to share. Try to make eye contact with the commissioners. They're human beings trying to listen and learn. You may have all the comments that you want to make written out as a script or on note cards, and you may want to read those, and that's perfectly fine. But try to stop and look up from your notes and try to make eye contact. I know the commissioners are going to be listening, and if you do that, that helps make that a two-way street. Practice, practice, practice. Before you go to the public hearing, go over the things that you want to say so that you can keep them in order, speak at a conversational pace, and finish within your 2 minutes allowed. Now, the commissioners and Edward have already talked about the public hearing guidelines they've set up. Start time is 6 o'clock. Until June 10th, I believe, when that will shift to 5 o'clock. And you can sign up when you arrive at the site if you're going to give face-to-face testimony until 8 o'clock. After June 10th, they will be up until 7 o'clock. Again, 2 minutes per person. I know they do have a timer and a bell will go off, so you'll want to try to stay within that. Signing up and speaking is on a first-come, first-served basis. So if you want to be one of the early speakers, you need to get to the public hearing early and sign up. Remote public comments must be signed up for by noon of the day of the public hearing. Note there's not a limit on the number of people that can speak. That's not a limit on the number of people overall or from your own community of interest as well. This we listed as a checklist, and again, it's been reinforced, and I was so glad to hear those comments earlier before I spoke. We would encourage you to take advantage of all 3 ways to share your thoughts about your community and the process with the commission. So we've talked a lot about the live public comments. We've also mentioned written public comments. So building on what you might state publicly, or if you can't, you have the written public comment option. And create and submit a map of your community. The more information you can share with the commission and repeat that in various formats, I think the more they have to work with in order to help you. So what I'm going to shift to now is, again, a very short 2-minute video prepared by Engage Michigan that will give you an idea of what you'll see if you go to the commission's portal to submit public comments or maps.
How to make your voice heard in the redistricting process. Start by going to michigan-mapping.org. On this site, you'll find a welcome section, a submit comment section, a how to draw a map section, and a submission gallery where all submissions are publicly displayed. If you'd like to submit a comment, go to the submit comment section and fill out the submission form. Add your title, then choose the type of submission you're making. If you would like to provide a written public comment, choose written testimony. If you mapped a districting plan for Michigan using districtor.org, which we will cover how to do later in this video, click Districting Plan. If you mapped a community of interest using districtor.org, click Community. If you'd like to add a link from another redistricting program you used, or a link to a Google Drive or similar service, click Other Link. To upload a file from your device, click File Upload, and to comment on another person's submission, click Add a Comment. Each submission form has a section to add tags. Type out your tag and hit Enter. Your tags will appear below the type box. Fill out the rest of the form, then click Submit. If you want to create a districting map to submit, you can learn how in the How to Draw a Map section. You'll find 2 videos explaining how to use districtor.org for drawing districts and drawing communities. Once you're ready to start mapping, you can click on one of the 4 options below the videos to begin. When you are done drawing your map, remember to click Save and copy the URL provided to your submission form. For more resources on redistricting in Michigan, visit mi.gov/micrc.
Okay, and I'm going to stop sharing now because while I had some more slides, Linda's going to come back to them later, and she's now going to take over and share with you and illustrate for you how to use Districtor. Linda?
All right, let me shrink that and present. All right. Okay, so can everyone see my slides? Yeah. Good, I think so. Thank you, Bev, and thank you, Rebecca, for having us here. I am going to go over the mapping portion of your testimony. So we did talk about already the role of the Redistricting Commission, and the commissioners talked about how they have to draw the State House, the State Senate, and the U.S. Congress districts. And then the required criteria, they've already gone over that, and how communities of interest are the most important public input criteria. So I won't go over that, but as a community, you don't have to draw all 3 maps. You only have to draw your community. And so when you describe your community, Bev described how you need to describe your community with what holds it together, what cultural, economic, historical, or environmental concerns you share. But I'm going to go over the map. Where is your community? What are the boundaries of your community, and how to share that with the commission? Within Voters Not Politicians, we've used various different mapping techniques. We've used paper and pencil, which is exactly what it sounds like. You can take a paper map and draw it on the map. Google Maps has an option where you can drop pins and connect lines between those pins to show where your community is. And there are 2 specific softwares that we've used to draw maps using for communities of interest. One's called Representable, and then there's District R, which is the one the commission has embraced. So I will later on go into the pros and cons of some of these methods, but I'm just going to show you a little bit of what the outcome is. So for paper and pencil, you can draw a map and submit this. This is where my community is. With Google Maps, there's a way to draw pins, and there's some important areas in this area that they've drawn for this community. And Representable looks a lot like District R. It uses census blocks, and you can just click on the census blocks and form your community there. But for now, we're going to do District R, and I'm going to do a demo with Bev, and we're going to simulate drawing a community together and see how that looks. So I just need to, there we go, get out of here and go to District R. So to get access District R, it's, and I'm going to just give it this a little bit, there we are. It's districtr.org. And you come to this website. You can either scroll down to the map, or we can just go jump to the map. And you can see the United States, and we are clicking on Michigan. Now, District R allows you could draw districts and say, these are the districts I think you should have, but we're doing communities. So when you draw a community, you just have to draw your own community and tell the commission, please don't draw a line through me. So we're going to draw communities, and you have an option of either using census block groups or precincts, and we're going to be using census block groups. So there we are. And now we're going on to a map of Michigan, and I'll go over the different tools that we can use and how you can draw your map. So I am working with Bev, and Bev has a community. Maybe it's her own community, maybe it's your community, somebody else's community. But anyway, we're simulating what you will do in doing the using District R. So the first thing I'm going to ask you about is, where is this community located?
Well, I'd say it's between Troy and Sterling Heights. So maybe a place for you to start would be maybe the Troy High School. That would be 4777 Northfield, or either way, 477.
Oh, wait, 47.
You got it. Three sevens.
77, okay.
Northfield Parkway.
There it is. I see it. So now it scans right into this. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask Bev, okay, is this an important place for your community?
Yes, it's one of the 2 high schools that I think our students, our kids utilize. So that's one of them. So in the right-hand side, you can see there's an important places. And what I do here is I'm going to click on here, and now I'm going to tag this, and I'm going to tag over with, I think, the high school actually is, so you can see it differently. There it is. And scrolling down, I could say this is the Troy High School as my important place. And this will be carried over to the commission too, so we'll see where the important places are. Are there any other important places that we can add on? Well, I'm going to add Athens High School. Now, it could be community centers. It could be whatever works for the people in the community. But
I personally think that school definitely is the place. But community center may or may not, because people drive around. Yeah. But school, because kids have in a neighborhood, go to the school, right?
Okay.
So I personally think.
Let's put another marker there for this is an important place.
Yeah, school is good.
Yeah. So I'm going to put on Troy, Athens. High School. So now I'm going to go over the different tools we have here. So I've been using with the hand tool here, and that allows me to go and I can scroll out so I can see both of my important places and maybe a little bit more of the, let's see that. All right.
A little further out.
A little further out.
Well, yes.
Okay, so I've got the 2 high schools here, and I see 75 goes through it, and so I can kind of see the general area of at least these are the 2 important places. I'm going to go to now the Paintbrush tool. And this tool, I can make it at a small paintbrush or a huge paintbrush, which can cover lots of census blocks. So I am going to make it a small one. And you can see here that I can actually do multiple communities on one map. So the different colors for the different communities, but we're just going to do the one community, which is the blue color here. And I think I can name it, and we're going to call this the demo community. So now I've named my community, just a general name. So I'm going to ask you, Bev, where do you think, obviously we're going to be highlighting the census blocks where the high schools are. And if it's not, we're not drawing a district, we actually don't even have to have it contiguous. We can say our communities are sort of here, but the commission can draw around it. So how would you connect these communities, Bev? Let's just.
Well, so you can go straight across to connect those two schools.
Yeah, okay, I got that. And
then maybe up as far as Auburn Road.
Okay, let's go over this way. And do you want to go past 75?
Not much. So from there, come back and go up towards.
So I just want to show you that this census block crosses over 75. So when you're using census blocks, you can't always do fine grained, like go right up to 75. And the same over here, it looks like. Okay. Okay. Do you want to go up this far or no?
I think that's good.
Okay. All right.
And then come back down.
All right. Do you want to go over any of here?
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
And then we might want to go past this high school too, taking some of areas around.
Maybe go down closer to 14 Mile.
All right. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Go down. I think I'm missing some things, but let's see.
Not quite all the way to 14 Mile, but.
All right.
Good.
All right. We can go a little bit more here, maybe. So anyway, I'm just drawing this. We might want to add in there. Okay, so if we made a mistake, which maybe we did, maybe we'll say, look, we really don't want, or maybe let's say if I filled in somewhere over here, and maybe I did to it. I use the eraser tool. So this.
Why don't you go up to Rochester? Excuse me. You're closing. I keep watching.
So this is interesting. This is a odd shaped census block. So I'm just showing you how to use a tool so that, if you want to eventually use the tools yourself and erase things. But I could go up to, I see Rochester Hills is up there, but that could be another community. That could be like we could use another color, or we could actually split it. We could say, this is our community, and then we can go up to Rochester Hills and add some more. And we have more community up here. So it doesn't have to be contiguous when you're talking about communities. You can say these are where we're located. But I'm just trying to just demonstrate some of the tools that we're using, and just try to see if people can be comfortable using this tool, and then we can go back. There is one more tool here that is an inspect tool. And this tool goes to every single, and this is, I think people are asking, every single census block, and tells you the demographics of that in terms of numbers. So there's another way to get percents, but this gives you numbers. So some census blocks are a lot bigger than others population wise. Yeah. You can do it in ours as well and go through and say, okay, this is what. But if you want to just get with our community we just mapped, if you want to get an idea of what that's like, there is an evaluation tool and a tab. So we did the drawing. Now we can go to evaluation, and we can look and see our community. For example, here is 18% Asian versus the Michigan, which is 2.4%. So this has a large Asian population in our community. The other thing we can look at too, which is interesting, is data layers. And that shows you where and now we can scan out a little bit to see this a little bit better, where the boundaries are for the Congress. And we can see our community is split into 3 districts, congressional districts, the Senate, and our community is split into 3 Senate districts as well, it looks like, and House. And it looks like we're split into 4 House districts here, just for this community that we've done. Now you can go back and, let's see if I can show more. There's more things you can find out, various demographics of this particular. You can check on these demographics and find out, oh, here is the total of Michigan. Find out where certain populations live, and you can show that. This is for a coalition builder, but you can show the population in a race as well. And you can see that it kind of colors in different areas, shades them, so you can see kind of the makeup of the different census blocks. But at this point, I'm going to show you now what you do at this point. So you might be, just me and Bev are members of one community. We want to share this with other members of our community. We press this save button. Now you can save it in different formats. If I clicked here, I can even print it out. I can save it in different formats, but I'm interested in just saving it, the URL. And here it is, it's been saved. And now any of you can go to this website, and this is the key number, 23430. So if anyone types in /districtr.org/COI/23430, you'll get this map. Now, if you change it or edit it, when you save it, you'll get a different number. But so if you're working with your community and trying to build your maps, you might want to share, say, I've changed it, this is the new number to use. But you can copy it. Now it's copied. And anytime, if I changed anything more, if I added another portion to my map, anywhere in here, let's say I decided it needed to go here, I can save it again, update here, and I still have the same number because I'm in the same session. But if somebody else, so if you wanted to, you can go right now and go try it out and play with it. But that's District R. It's not, it's pretty, to me, it's the instructions were pretty clear, and it was kind of fun to make maps. So I'm going to now go back to the presentation part. And I wanted to just go to, oh, there we go. So I do want to reiterate that just because we did it in District R doesn't mean you have to complete your map in District R. If you're not comfortable using that, one type of map is not necessarily better than another. There's a lot of reasons to choose different types of software or different types of mapping methods. You might have barriers to access computers and the internet, so paper and pencil is fine. You might be working from a phone. I've heard District R doesn't work on phones, so you want to use Google Maps or Representable. Representable has a nice feature where different members of the community can draw their community, and then they have a partner drive, and all of those maps are then layered on top of one another, and you can see where everyone sort of feels where the boundaries are, so like a heat map. And that's very nice. Google Maps is nice if you want to really draw just more distinct lines. You want to use census blocks or precincts. Maybe you want to divide those up. You could use Google Maps to really show fine grain more where your community is. But if you have boundaries that are very curvy or jagged or difficult to draw with straight lines, Representable District R using those census blocks are kind of make it easy. One thing Representable has a problem with is once you complete your map on Representable, you can't go back and edit it. You can look at the demographic information, you can send it off to people, but you can't edit it. So District R lets you use those data layers, and even after you save it, you can just go back and edit it again. So that's a nice feature about District R. If you decide to create districts to give the commission rather than your community maps, District R has that ability. Representable is just for community maps, and representable has a limit on the number, how big that map can be. So if you have a really big community, you want to use District R. So remember, your final goal is a description and a map in whatever form they take. And maps can be submitted to the commission in any number of ways. They have a way you can submit paper maps at the meetings. You can take a picture, digital image files, geocode formats, but the URLs are probably what you'd be using. What I just saved, that URL, I just put that in to the portal for the commission, especially with District R. It's very easy. I just want to give you an example of what one person's testimony, and this is at Kentwood Public Schools. They've drawn their map of their community in District R. They've written information about their community in the information, and they've tagged their community so that people searching through the testimony, if they want to look up Kentwood City, Gaines Township, or Kent County, they can easily find this submission. Finally, we have contact info, websites, and feedback. I believe this will be going into the chat, but I'm going to just count a little bit so you can see all the different, and I think you've seen some of these already, how to get to the commission sites. This is important. This is our feedback form. So if you would fill that out, that would be really wonderful. But these are all the websites that are useful for submitting your testimony. And so thank you. I'm gonna stop sharing now and see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Linda and Bev. That was very helpful for me. You know, as many times as I watch it, I feel like I'm learning something new, and I am giving public comment tomorrow at Novi. So this was a good refresher for me. Thank you. Again, at this time, as Linda mentioned, we will take any questions on public comments or anything that you want to know about if you're going tomorrow or any of the future public comments. For any questions for Linda or Bev. Sharon, I see you unmuted. Go ahead.
I don't know. I love the map. It's so interesting. I can put all that together, give it a good look. Just need to spend time on it. Yeah. I think the key is you need to get your neighborhood to work together to raise the voice. That's the key. Mm-hmm. I think for us is just this is technical part that to get how to present it. But the first thing we need to just pass a message out to the bigger community to get the support. So, yeah. But I love the map. That tool is so fun. Remember, just keep going up to Rogers Hills, okay? From home.
That's your task, Sharon.
I mean, we have a Chinese school at Troy. So all the family from Rogers Hills, every Friday night, we take kids down there to Troy for the Chinese school. So there are a lot of big population, Asian population from Rogers Hills. So we are so connected with Troy. Okay. So I think it's just so connected. There's two communities for Asian.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's a very good session, very helpful. We just need to get it out.
And if you have any questions or issues when you're actually drawing the maps or trying to make testimony, you can reach out to us too. We have our contact information in the chat.
Sure, thank you. I'll make sure I connect Troy and Rochester.
Sorry, I should have done that.
Linda or Bev, I did have a question. In one of the earlier slides, we saw that bring friends, bring more people. So if tomorrow someone doesn't live in the Novi Farmington district, say they live in Detroit or they live in Warren, are we still encouraging them to show up, even if it's not their district.
Right. Yeah, no, anybody can show up in anybody's, meeting. It's not specific to that because they can't have meetings in every city. So it needs to drive.
But the same thing is true with your verbal. If you want to speak, you may not be able to drive to a location. So Sharon, if you're not ready for tomorrow, Thursday, or whatever this week, you could still sign up to do a virtual verbal presentation at a later date.
Okay, Rebecca.
Yes, Willie, we can hear you.
Yeah, can I make a comment also? Sure. I've been listening to all of you, but my comment is I attended a lot of redistricting Zoom meeting and everything, but do we have efforts to reach out to the grassroots? Because I can observe most of the people representing on this redistricting are only from, say, Chinese community and then from the Korean community. What we have to reach out to other ethnic groups like the Hmong, the Thailand, the Pakistan, everything. So now, because there's a lot in the community. I also belong to the Ethnic Community Committee in Sterling Heights. So I don't think they are fully aware of what's going on. That's why an effort should be made to reach out the grassroots because we needed their voice too. So I know it will be a challenge, but that's why we have the commissioners and community leaders to reach out to them, especially they have challenges on language barrier. So that's just my observation regarding this redistricting.
Thank you, Willie. Thank you for that comment. Yes, for API Vote Michigan, we have been trying to connect with different community members. We send out letters to community members, and organizations like ACJ, ACA responded to host these education webinars in their communities. So there's continuous efforts being made to engage everyone as possible. And I think it's really important that even at an individual level, right? Now that things are opening up, during election times, we had conversations about like, who are you going to vote for? Like, our conversations should be, are you going to the redistricting public hearing? Do you want to come with me? Do you need a ride? Those should be our conversation at an individual level. So Willie, we know you're very well connected, and we would encourage you to, if there is someone that or a community that that we need to reach, please put us in touch. And we can definitely, our friends at Voters Not Politicians, they're ready to do webinars, and there's a crew of them that are ready to just take on and educate us. So please let us know.
All right.
Sharon, go ahead.
Have you compiled, generate sufficient promotional materials? I'm talking about, for example, the flyers, the brochures, the video to promote this effort from a social media perspective. I mean, a lot of times, the social media promotion helps a lot to get the message out, right? I mean, a flyer, brochure, for example, with different language, that definitely will help, helpful too. Hope we are doing good on this part.
Yeah, there are social media flyers and ads going around right now, and we also have translated like a one-pager on how to. I think I can actually show you guys how to, maybe not, but I can send it over after the call. After this call, that there is a one-pager in English, and then we do have one in Chinese, Vietnamese, and Urdu and Bangla as well that is being circulated right now.
Because it's a key point to get the material, get the message out, right? And the material is one of the channel. I mean, the tool we need. And then the next part is to go through different promotional channel to just get the message out. But we need to have the material on hand first of all.
Right, absolutely. So we're hoping that, leaders like you can go back to ACA and talk to community members. And, if ACA wants to have a webinar on their own where we can do it in Chinese or Mandarin, we're happy to do that.
I'll go to Rochester Hills first.
There you go.
Talk to
Sharon
my
is
mayor.
loyal to Rochester.
Talk to my mayor. I keep using Rochester Hills as example. I hope they like me.
Okay, do we have any other questions for our friends at Voters Not Politician, Linda and Bev? Or Sandy? Okay. I don't see any other questions, and I know this will be posted. So if you're watching this at a later time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Our Voters Not Politician, their information and contact information is in the chat room, and we will make sure that we post it in the YouTube description box as well. So I want to again thank Linda, Bev, and Sandy for their knowledge and for sharing how to give public comments. And like I said, I'm so excited about tomorrow's public comment. It will start at 6 o'clock. I am putting the location. This is going to be at the Suburban Collection Showplace out in Novi. That's 46100 Grand River Avenue. And public comments start at 6 p.m. And then I also want to just thank the commissioners today, Commissioner MC and Commissioner Rebecca, for joining us and answering valuable questions and sharing what's really happening. And I just really felt connected to these commissioners. Oftentimes we're just so isolated. We think, oh, these are commissioners, but we need to understand. And we hope that people feel more comfortable and connected to go talk to these guys. They're just like us. They're here to hear from us. And I also want to just thank Edward for putting this together, reaching out and being that community organizer, community person that we can go to and connecting us all. And I really hope that our communities will come together. And I really hope that, all of our communities will show up and participate in redistricting efforts. We had community leaders here today. We really hope you will go back to your respective organizations and share this knowledge and encourage them to give public comments, wherever possible, show up wherever, whenever possible, give public comments whenever, wherever possible, online, remotely, or at the location, so that we can make sure our government continues to work on behalf of us, the people that it's supposed to. So again, please feel free to reach out to any of us on this call. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to sign off from here. Again, this is Rebecca with API Vote Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I wanna see you stand.